Millionaire ignores maid's warning about wife's dinner. What happened next will haunt you forever. The luxurious mansion stood in eerie silence, shadows dancing across the walls as the clock ticked ominously towards dinner. In the grand dining room, the silverware gleamed under the soft candlelight, but something deeper lurked in the air, a foreboding chill that rippled through the atmosphere. The maid, Anna, felt her heart race as she approached Mr. Reynolds, the millionaire, with her warning slipping anxiously from her lips. "Sir, you need to listen to dinner menu tonight, there's a bad omen." Her voice quivered, heavy with the weight of secrets. Strange fluttering sounds echoed from the kitchen, a sound like whispers begging to be ignored. The beautiful but coldly indifferent Mrs. Reynolds had insisted on preparing her special dish, and Anna's intuition screamed at her to intervene. The ominous fragrance of rosemary and something sharper filled the air, something that made Anna's chest tighten and a lump form in her throat. "Just this one time, don't touch it," she urged. But Mr. Reynolds waved her off, sparkling glass in hand, too distracted by his fortunes to heed her warning. As the hour approached, tension climbed higher. The towering, polished candlesticks flickered chaotically as if anticipating something dreadful. Anna hurriedly arranged flowers that held into bloom, yet their vivid petals felt like a cruel joke against the impending doom. The guests arrived with laughter and chatter, blissfully unaware that the atmosphere simmered with unspoken dread. They took their seats at the long, opulent table, their voices blending into a harmonious facade that didn't match the deepening shadows. Then, just as Mr. Reynolds raised his glass to propose a toast, the lights flickered, plunging the room briefly into darkness. Gasps filled the air, the vibrations of startled breaths mingled with the faint scent of decay that crept through the cracks. Suddenly, a loud crash rang out. The crystal chandelier rattled as if shaken by an unseen hand. What was that? Someone cried out, eyes wide, as hearts raced. Could it be a sign? Could it be too late? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Panic rippled through the dining room. Mr. Reynolds' face turned ghostly pale as he realized he had ignored Anna's warnings completely. Meanwhile, the air thickened unseen, and the whispers grew louder, swirling like leaves caught in a storm, demanding attention. As he opened his mouth to speak, the lights flickered again, plunging them into momentary despair. Was it just the storm outside, or was there more to fear? The tablecloth rustled uneasily with every heartbeat as all eyes darted toward the kitchen, where the noxious aroma grew heavier, suffocating those still at the table. What truly awaited them behind the door? What had Mrs. Reynolds decided to conjure for dinner? The uneasy silence hung heavy, and with it, a dangerous question: would anyone survive this feast? The silence broke like glass, shattering into a million silent screams. All eyes were glued to the kitchen door, every ear straining to catch the slightest hint of movement. A heartbeat later, Mrs. Reynolds emerged, her face serene yet somehow detached, as if she were a puppet pulled by the strings of fate. Clad in her elegant evening gown, she glided to the table with an unsettling grace, a knife clutched in her hand. "Dinner is served," she declared, her voice smooth and melodious, yet it sent chills through the gathered guests. As she approached, the sharp scent of herbs twisted itself tighter around every throat in the room. She placed the grand dish at the center of the table, an ornate platter, steaming and covered by a shining silver lid that glimmered ominously in the low candlelight. The guests exchanged nervous glances, unease thick in the air as Mrs. Reynolds lifted the lid with a flourish, revealing the grotesque sight within. A grand roast, glistening in dark sauce, lay before them, yet something lurked beneath the surface, a deep crimson pool that trickled out like a taunt. The guests leaned closer, mouths agape, horrified by the unnatural appearance. Someone sneezed, breaking the spell and igniting a flurry of whispers. what is that? Did you see the way it looks? Mr. Reynolds's grip tightened around his silver glass. My dear, this looks interesting, he stammered, attempting to mask his fear with forced bravado. Mrs. Reynolds only smiled wider. It's a family recipe, she cooed, her eyes glinting with a strange light. One that brings us all together. As she served the first slice onto Mr. Reynolds's plate, a thick, morbid aroma wafted around him, seeping into his mind like poison. He could hardly swallow when he noticed the twitch in his wife's smile, the way her eyes shimmered with something that felt disturbingly ancient. Anna, standing in the corner, a shiver coursing through her spine, glanced at the front door. The storm raged outside, thrashing against the windows as if warning them to flee. But her feet felt rooted to the ground, held captive by a sense of urgency and dread. She needed to act now. Sir, I truly must insist, she began, but was again cut off by the sound of plates clattering as the guests reluctantly took their portions. Choking on her words, Anna's forehead glistened with perspiration, each drop heavy with fearful foresight. The guests resumed their chatter, seemingly unable to discern shadows closing in around them. Then, a sudden scream pierced the air, snapping everyone's gaze back toward the table. One guest, pale and trembling, dropped their fork, eyes wide with horror. It's moving! They gasped, pointing with a shaking hand. The guests leaned in closer. Their eyes widened as the meat quivered, rising ever so slightly, pulsing like a dark heart, as shrieks of shock burst forth. The table erupted into chaos. Glasses shattered, chairs toppled, and screams mingled with the frenzied flapping of dishes as everyone scrambled backward. Mr. Reynolds' own heart raced, drowning out every rational thought. What had he brought upon them? What truly lay beneath the surface of that meal? Dark laughter echoed from the kitchen, chilling the air, as if the mansion itself was mocking their foolishness. Behind Mrs. Reynolds, shadows flickered menacingly across the kitchen walls. Stop! Anna shouted, her voice barely cutting through the bedlam, desperation etching itself across her face. Don't eat it. You don't know what you're inviting. But the tumult was deafening, drowning her pleas. The guests were slipping into hysteria. As the tension reached an unbearable peak, the lights flickered yet again, a final attempt at a warning. And in that moment of darkness, a strange sound erupted, as if the very foundation of the house trembled. Something sinister was awake. The night was far from over. What other secrets did the mansion hold? And would anyone dare to uncover them? The uproar continued, a cacophony of terror as guests recoiled from the sight at the table. They stumbled over each other, some screaming, others gasping. The flickering candlelight cast eerie shadows across their horrified faces. Mrs. Reynolds stood amidst the chaos, her serene expression unwavering, an unsettling smile still playing on her lips. Don't be dramatic, everyone. She called, her tone almost sing-songy, as if this were merely a theatrical performance. It's just dinner. Mr. Reynolds' face was pale as he staggered backward, struggling to comprehend what was happening. The pulsing roast seemed to mock him, its dark sheen catching the light in grotesque flashes. How could you? He stammered, finally finding his voice amidst the mayhem. What is this, Clara? Don't focus on the surface, darling, she answered sweetly. What matters is the taste. Anna's heart raced as she caught a glimpse of the shimmering knife clutched in Mrs. Reynolds' hand. She could feel the tension in the air, thick like suffocating fog. Something was terribly, irreparably wrong. Get out. Everyone, just leave. Anna shouted again, her hands shaking as she tried to push through the throng. But one guest, a young man with wide, startled eyes, stumbled toward the table instead. Drawn in by some magnetic pull, he reached out to grasp a slice, the quivering meat beckoning him. No! Anna cried, lunging forward. She grabbed his wrist just in time, her grip tight as she yanked him back. You can't eat that. It isn't what you think. The young man blinked at her, confused, as if waking from a trance. What do you mean? He shook his head, eyes darting between Anna and the grotesque display. "They're all bewitched," she exclaimed, breathless. "The roast isn't just food, it's a trap. We're in danger." Mrs. Reynolds' laugh echoed again, richer, darker. "Bewitched?" she repeated mockingly. "Oh, Anna. You've always been so dramatic. You'd spoil the family dinner with your silly notions." The laughter cast a chill over the room. Shadows danced around her like whispers of the past, and the oppressive air seemed alive, pressing down on everyone's shoulders. "Listen," Anna pleaded, desperation breaking through. "There's something in this house. We need to stick together." But a few guests had already drawn closer to Mrs. Reynolds, eyes glazed, entranced by her indifferent charm. They cast furtive glances at the pulsing roast but didn't seem to care. Anxiety coiled tightly in Anna's chest, her breath hitching as she looked to Mr. Reynolds. "We can't let them eat it. We have to stop them." He blinked slowly, still caught in his wife's magnetic pull. "Clara, please just tell us what's going on and spoil the fun." Mrs. Reynolds interjected, sweeping her arm across the table, the knife gleaming in the flickering candlelight. "But we're all just here for a taste of family history. This is how we celebrate." Anna recoiled as she saw Mrs. Reynolds' expression shift ever so slightly, revealing something darker beneath the elegance. An uncanny glint in her eyes. It can't be," she gasped, realization clawing at her mind. "You're not talking about the food, are you?" Suddenly, the entire house shuddered, a deep rumble reverberating through the very foundation. The lights flickered again, casting grotesque shadows of panic on the walls. Screams erupted anew, blending with the dreadful laughter reverberating from Mrs. Reynolds. The guests were inching closer now, some transfixed, some terrified, all unaware of the treachery about to envelop them. "What have you done?" Anna breathed, horror settling in as she backed away, her eyes darting to the door, their only route of escape now seeming impossibly far away. The house trembled as the silence returned, an ominous pause wrapping around them like a prelude to chaos. And deep from within the shadows, a voice came, low and sinister, reverberating against the walls. "You think you can leave? Not yet. Was there a way to escape this nightmare? And who if anyone would emerge from the horror still standing?" Anna's pulse thundered in her ears, drowning out the chaos around her. Everywhere she turned, faces twisted in confusion, as if waking from a dream that had turned nightmarish. The house wasn't just alive, it was hungry. She could feel the walls closing in, each creak of the floorboards echoing her dread. "Clara! Snap out of it!" Mr. Reynolds' voice trembled, teetering on the edge of panic. His eyes glinted with a desperate plea, but Mrs. Reynolds simply raised the knife, letting it catch the candlelight once more. "Dear, they just need to understand," she crooned, her voice dripping with that same unsettling sweetness. "This dinner is choice, its history and legacy, all intertwined. You wouldn't want to spoil the magic, would you?" Anna's throat tightened, fear giving way to fury. "Magic?" she spat, stepping forward. "This is a slaughter. You're feeding them something else. Now, Anna. Don't spoil dinner." Mrs. Reynolds' tone shifted, a menacing edge slicing through her charm. The upturned corner of her smile transformed into a cruel grin, exposing far too much of her teeth. Guests inching closer to the roast seemed to be pulled by invisible strings, driven by a hunger far deeper than just physical appetite. They touched the sides of the plate reverently, gasps of yearning escaping their lips. "No!" Anna shouted, breaking through the haze. She took a step toward the table, her hand raised to shield the young man still swaying near the feast. "It's a trick. It's all a trick. You're being manipulated." But the room rolled with laughter from Mrs. Reynolds, insanity cloaked in a silver gown. "Their minds are simply open to possibility, unlike yours. Why deny yourself such a delight?" A wave of anger coursed through Anna. Were these people really so easily fooled? Or had they already lost something beneath their astonished exteriors? Listen, she implored, locking eyes with the young man again. Fight it. You have to resist. This isn't right. Suddenly, the lights dimmed once more, plunging them into a brief dark abyss before flickering back, revealing Mrs. Reynolds stepping closer to Anna, her eyes blazing with something akin to fury and hunger. You've chosen the wrong side, Anna, she hissed softly, her breath warm against Anna's face. You don't belong here. You can't possibly know what it takes to keep this family fed. Anna stumbled backward, the weight of those words crashing over her. You're sick. This is madness. But the guests were already pawing at the roast, each slice calling out to their primal instincts as Mrs. Reynolds began to chant softly, words weaving through the air like poison. An eerie ambience enveloped the room, and shadows writhed along the walls as if the very foundation of the house shivered at her command. This is your moment, the voice from the shadows whispered again, dark and tempting. Anna's heart raced. She couldn't stay here. She had to warn the others, to thrash them back to reality, to show them the truth hidden within this sickening feast. She turned, ready to burst forward into the crowd, but before she could move, the walls pulsed again, almost like a heartbeat. A bone-rattling voice echoed straight from the depths of the house, growing louder and more demanding. Stay and embrace your destiny with every ounce of resolve. Anna forced her legs to carry her past the thrumming guests, toward the door leading to the unknown. But just as her fingers grazed the handle, the air shifted, growing heavier around her. She twisted to look back at the horrific tableau, eyes darting from face to face, seeking a glimmer of recognition. Would anyone follow her? Or was she destined to face this horror alone? The door remained shut. The maddening laughter rang hollow, drawing closer, the shadowy voice urged her to turn back. Will you truly forsake your family? It crooned, almost tenderly, the words seeming to curl around her throat like cold fingers. Find out next, if Anna will uncover the dark truth hidden beneath the surface or become just another piece of the night's twisted feast. As Anna's hand hovered over the doorknob, panic kicked in. What if she was making a mistake? The house hummed around her, its very essence alive with the dark promises of Mrs. Reynolds. She could feel the frantic thumping of her heart pounding in her ears, overwhelming her senses. And then she heard it, a distant whimper, raw and desperate among the cacophony of the dining room. The young man. He was still trapped in that fog, swaying as if caught between dreams and nightmares. For a fleeting moment, she thought she saw fear flash in his eyes before the shadows swallowed it whole. Please. Get out. She yelled, her voice strained with urgency. She took a shaky step toward him, but the sweet perfume of the roast filled her lungs, compelling her to inhale the intoxicating aroma. It felt like an invisible force drawing her in, but she resisted, shaking her head as if to clear the fog. Mrs. Reynolds' laughter danced through the air, winding around Anna, squeezing her stomach tight. You think you can save them, dear? They've already chosen. They see the beauty in the feast. Beauty? Anna spat the word out like a curse. This isn't beauty, it's a trap, a lie. In that moment, the floor beneath her quivered, skimming the surface of her resolve. Dark tendrils of shadow slithered out from the corners, creeping toward her as the guests, still entranced, ripped into the roast with abandon. The family has always made sacrifices, Mrs. Reynolds continued, undeterred, her voice wrapping around Anna like silk. Those who do not understand will forever remain in the dark. Isn't it better to embrace the light? Sickened, Anna shook her head. You're twisted. There's no light in this. You're feeding them. The walls throbbed, a deep rumble resonating through the air, cutting her off mid-sentence. A heavy silence swept over the gathering, and the host of the nightmare leaned toward Anna, a predatory glint in her eye. Everyone must contribute to the continuing legacy, to thrive. Anna stumbled backward, her instincts clawing at her to flee. She turned once more to the door, but an unbearable pressure fell upon her chest, pinning her in place. The young man caught her gaze, a flicker of lucidity igniting just for a moment. "Help, me. Fight it!" she screamed, her voice cracking as she fought tears and terror. But he was already being consumed, his expression melting back to blissful intoxication as the madness gripped him tighter. Before she could process what to do, she was swept into the dark shadows swirling around her. Another murmured incantation slipped from Mrs. Reynolds' lips, each word of venom drenching the atmosphere. The air grew thick with fervor, suffocating her thoughts. Then, Anna felt a cold touch at the nape of her neck, followed by more whispers, chilling in their seduction. "Join us, be part of the family, Anna, no!" she screamed, shaking her head violently. "I want tea. I want tea." The laughter surged again, a haunting chorus that drowned out her cries, wrapping round her like a shroud. She fought against its weight, every muscle straining as fear clawed its way up her throat. There was no escape, no shield to protect her from the chaos converging upon her, but just then, amid the turmoil, she caught sight of something glimmering on the table, an unblemished silver pendant nestled at the side of the dismembered roast. An image of a key engraved on its surface caught her eye. Could that be her way out? With every shred of strength she could muster, Anna lunged forward, hand reaching for the pendant. The floor cracked beneath her feet as the house shuddered, the guests' whispers turning to desperate shrieks. "No!" came Mrs. Reynolds' voice, fury igniting the tension filling the air as Anna's fingers finally closed around the pendant. The shrieks escalated into a deafening roar, the chaos enveloping her. What waited now? Did she just awaken a greater horror? As the walls trembled violently, the floor tilted beneath Anna, a giant hand reaching up from the depths. Would this bold move unravel the truth, or was it the catalyst for something darker? Something waiting to be unleashed? The instant Anna's fingers clasped the cool metal of the pendant, a jolt of energy shot through her. The air filled with a palpable electricity, vibrating beneath her feet. The remnants of the feast quivered ominously as the laughter faded into a chilling silence, broken only by the relentless thundering of her heart. Time distended. The chaos melted away, the screams of the guests warped into haunting echoes. Was this the way out? Or had she just sealed her fate? With the pendant clutched tightly in her palm, its engraving gleamed like a beacon. A sudden memory pierced through her fogged mind, her grandmother's stories of magical objects, lost and hidden. Those who could decipher these pieces could unlock doors, but what would that door lead her to? The shadows loomed, more palpable now, creeping closer as if sensing her hesitance. Mrs. Reynolds' form blurred in and out, a flickering specter cloaked in rage. "You don't know what you've done," she hissed. Her voice dripped with venom, each word slicing through the dimness like a knife. "You've disrupted a legacy centuries in the making." Anna forced a breath, her chest constricting. "I want to be a part of this madness." The defiance surged within her, fueled by the horror unfolding before her eyes. She needed clarity, she needed to escape. Just then, the pendant grew warm, pulse-like, alive against her skin. A flicker of understanding brushed through her thoughts. If the pendant was the key, then perhaps it could unlock more than just a door. A chance to break the enchantment. A chance to free the young man and herself. With a fierce determination, Anna raised the pendant toward the flickering shadows. "Show me!" she cried. The room trembled in response, shadows recoiling as a beam of light erupted from the pendant. It cut through the darkness, illuminating the dining room in an ethereal glow. Silvery tendrils unfurled, wrapping around the entranced guests, pinning them in place. Their grotesque feast halted, fork and knife poised mid-bite, faces frozen in a mask of blissful terror. Mrs. Reynolds shrieked, the sound twisting into a vicious snarl. "You foolish girl! You cannot comprehend the power you meddle with." But Anna could see clearly now, the twisted essence of the feast, the darkness it held. The young man stood at the brink of the shadows, his features pinched with agony, yet alive with hope. It flowed through the room, mingling with the disorienting aroma still lingering in her nostrils. She could almost sense his struggle and unconscious fight for freedom. "Help me!" he gasped, eyes sparkling with fleeting resolve. You can break it. You hold the key. The glow intensified, pulling Anna's focus completely. I want to let you go. She shouted, heart racing with newfound strength. She reached out, wanting to connect with this vulnerability, this flicker of life. Do it. He urged. End the feast. Set us all free. But with her newfound power came a creeping self-doubt. What if she was wrong? What if this pendant unleashed something worse? Was Mrs. Reynolds right? Could she truly disrupt centuries of darkness? Join us, Anna. Hissed Mrs. Reynolds, her voice now twisted and venomous. You still can. Why fight what you could embrace? The choice, it hung over her like the very shadows swirling around her. Fight or join? Fate or freedom, an unbearable weight pressed upon her, each heartbeat echoing in time with the glow pulsing from the pendant. But as vivid images of the young man alive, hopeful, and desperate flooded her mind, a flicker of clarity ignited a flame within. I will end this. She screamed. The pendant shimmered brighter, and she felt the wave of arcane energy crash around her. Be gone. She shouted, thrusting the pendant forward. A blast of blinding light erupted, and the screams were drowned out by a sudden silence. And just as quickly, the darkness began to retract like the tide receding from the shore, but as the light pulled back, so too did the veil obscuring her fate. What lay ahead? Redemption or ruin? Just before consciousness faltered, she glimpsed something in the air, a shadow. Creeping against the wall, waiting. It was still not over. As the blinding light began to fade, Anna felt the weight of the pendant shift in her grip. She blinked through the haze that surrounded her as the first whispers of clarity entered her mind. Fear mixed with adrenaline surged through her veins, fueling her instinct to flee. But where to? She was still enshrouded by the storm of shadows, and the specter of Mrs. Reynolds hovered with a menacing hunger. With the remnants of the feast frozen in time, Anna's gaze darted back to the young man, his eyes wide and pleading. You must break the cycle, he pleaded, the desperation in his voice anchoring her to the task at hand. If only time would allow her to think. The glow from the pendant flickered weakly, dimming like a dying ember. She couldn't let it fizzle out. What do I do? She whispered, directing her question at both him and the pendant. Channel your heart, he urged, his voice steady amid the chaos. Feel the truth you hold inside. It's not just a pendant, it's a fragment of your spirit, a link to a past that needs resolution. His words struck a chord deep within Anna. She recalled her grandmother's stories, the legacies that were born from love and loss, the magical objects that flourished when held with genuine intentions. This pendant was not just a key, it demanded empathy and courage. The shadows hissed, threading closer together, as Mrs. Reynolds's face contorted with rage. You think you can defeat centuries of sacrifice? You're a child playing with forces you can't possibly fathom. She lunged toward Anna with ferocity, smearing the air with overwhelming darkness. Heart pounding, Anna closed her eyes, letting the pendant rest against her chest. She envisioned the young man freed, his spirit released as the banquet turned to dust. She thought of the years she'd wasted cowering beneath the weight of others' expectations. Rage surged, fueled by sorrow. Memories of her grandmother filled her head, wisdom intertwined with a fierce spirit that refused to die in darkness. Enough! Anna shouted, drawing from the depth of her sorrow, her anger, and her hope. She opened her eyes, now ablaze with resolve, pinning both the darkness and Mrs. Reynolds with a fierce glare. I am not afraid. The pendant glowed violently, bursting forth like a star igniting in the dawn. The light pulsated through the room, intensifying the silence until it cracked like glass. The shadows wavered, struggling to maintain their form. Anna stepped forward, focusing on the light emanating from the pendant, directing it toward the dark figure that loomed closer. You have held these souls for long enough. And with that proclamation, the light expanded, sweeping through the room like a tidal wave, erasing the shadows in a brilliant cascade. Anna felt the world tilt as the shadows recoiled, twisted into forms that looked like they were being pulled apart. Mrs. Reynolds roared, fury spilling from her lips as she was engulfed by the light. "You'll regret this, Anna." The words echoed into the ether, distorted and swallowed by the brightness. But just when Anna thought victory was in reach, a rending sound pierced the air. The pendant grew unbearably hot, almost burning her skin. She realized too late it was not merely a vessel of light, but a portal to something more, a deeper darkness that had yet to be unleashed. Panic gripped her. "What is happening?" The young man's face shifted, uncertainty growing as the glow began to falter. "You must hold on. Don't let go." Power surged around her, the room spinning as if caught in a storm. In that whirlwind of chaos, one thought echoed louder than the others: she was the beacon, but at what cost? Just before everything imploded into blinding brilliance, she felt a rush of cold, a serpentine shadow inching through the remnants of light, coiling tightly around her heart. What new horror was waiting just beyond this ethereal boundary? The world around Anna twisted as light and darkness wrestled for dominance. She felt disoriented, her heart racing in sync with the chaotic energy cracking through the air. The remnants of the feast, once vibrant and inviting, turned into mere specters, ghostly reminders of a joy that was never meant to be. "And more is coming," the young man shouted, his expression shifting from hope to alarm. "It wants you, Anna. You have to anchor the light." In that moment, Anna understood. This wasn't just about her. It was a conduit, a gateway leaning toward annihilation, and the only way to halt the tide was to stay strong. The pendant pulsed like a heartbeat against her chest, grounding her as the cold shadow gripped her tighter, squeezing the air from her lungs. "Hold on," she rasped, barely able to draw breath. Her vision blurred momentarily, the edges darkening, the weight of the shadow threatening to pull her under. But she wasn't done fighting. Not now. With a fierce resolve, she gathered every ounce of strength she could muster, digging into her memories the warmth of her grandmother's embrace, the laughter shared during family dinners, the stories of resilience that had been passed down through generations. Each image flared like a candle in the dark, outlining an invisible path she could follow. "Feel every moment," she yelled, her voice powerful, slicing through the panic. She pulled the pendant away from her chest, clutching it tightly in both hands. "This belongs to me. I will not be a pawn in your game." The shadows writhed in retaliation, the swirling darkness clawing at her, desperate to shred her resolve. But Anna channeled every ounce of light inside her. The pendant erupted with a searing brightness, illuminating the space like 1,000 suns exploding in an instant. The cold serpent withdrew, hissing as it succumbed to the brightness. Mrs. Reynolds' silhouette twisted and contorted, her anger palpable as she fell back, pushed away by the light Anna wielded. "You can't escape me, Anna. You don't know what you're meddling with. You're just a girl." "Maybe. But I'm a girl who won't back down," Anna shouted, her voice echoing and resonating with the power that coursed through her. The air thickened, charged with electricity, as if the very bones of the world had begun to shake. That heartbeat of uncertainty, the light and the shadows met in a cataclysmic clash. Time slowed, heartbeats quickened, the impenetrable darkness shrank back while the light reached out, an arm seeking to heal what had been broken. Then, as abruptly as it had begun, the tumult ceased. The light captured the shadows, pushing them back into the void, and silence fell, but it was a fragile silence. With cautious dread, Anna realized she still held the pendant, now pulsing gently, casting a soft glow. She flipped it over and gasped. An image was forming, an ancient symbol she had never seen before, swirling with both light and dark. It felt alive, sinister almost. A shiver crawled up her spine as the air thickened again. "What is that?" The young man's voice trembled as the image glowed brighter, illuminating Anna's face with an eerie radiance. I don't know," she admitted, fear creeping in once again. "But I think it's only just begun." Before she could gather her thoughts, a snap echoed from the shadows. A figure emerged, something no longer human. It reached for her, a glint of malice in its glittering eyes, in the void where hope had just been extinguished. "Your fate is intertwined with mine now," it hissed. "You will not escape so easily." As she stared into its unforgiving gaze, a chill filled her. This was no ordinary darkness. What could it possibly want from her? The questions flooded her mind. What awaited her in the shadows? And was the pendant truly her salvation or her doom? The creature's cold breath sent shivers down Anna's spine. She fumbled, trying to recalibrate her thoughts amidst the chaos swirling around her. It towered above her, its sharp claws carving through the air as if testing the very fabric of reality. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in like a vice. "Anna!" the young man cried, his voice quaking. "You need to fight it. Remember the light." But everything felt heavier now. The pendant dimmed, its earlier brilliance waning as the creature's presence siphoned the warmth from the air. Panic swallowed her. Was all her fighting in vain? No. She shouted, channeling her inner resolve, teeth gritted, fists clenched around the pendant. "This is mine. You can't have it." The darkness hesitated, as if her defiance caught it off guard. Anna took a half-step forward, heart hammering, fighting against the fear gnawing at her insides. The glint in the creature's eyes flickered, revealing shards of something more human, something lost. "Stop!" it hissed, a voice that echoed with both a dreadful authority and a desperate plea. "You cannot understand what you've unleashed, then make me understand." Anna challenged, determination hardening her voice. "Show me." A moment of silence wrapped around them, thick and heavy, before the creature glanced away, its gaze flickering between Anna and the shadows groaning in the corners of the room. "You wish to learn? Then prepare for the truth." The air crackled with energy as shadows crept towards them, spiraling toward the creature, weaving together a tapestry of fear. It transformed into a swirling vortex, revealing ghostly figures caught in between worlds, their faces twisted in agony. Anna recoiled, her heart racing as she recognized them, familiar faces from her past, friends she had lost, long gone but now appearing before her frozen in torment. "No, this can't be real." "Real enough," the creature sneered, its voice low and malevolent. "You see, this fate is sealed unless you choose to unlock the darkness within yourself. You are the key, Anna." The shadows writhed around her, whispering in lost voices, "Join us, free us." A chorus of despair echoed off the walls, sending her heart into a tailspin. Tears threatened to spill over, but she blinked them away, focusing on the light emanating from the pendant. "I want to let you trap me," she shouted, her hands shaking as she raised the pendant high. "I choose to fight." In that instant, the light flared brighter than before, pushing the shadows away, illuminating the faces of those she had loved. They smiled at her, not in torment, but peace. A warmth spread through Anna, filling her with an unshakable strength. The creature's eyes widened, a flicker of recognition flashing across its features. "You think you can outshine the darkness? You cannot fight what is inside you." "I don't have to. I can embrace it." Anna felt the weight of pain, loss, and darkness gather within her, swirling until it became one, merged with the pendant's light. "Embrace all that you are," she whispered, clarity washing over her. "And rise above." With a surge of power, the light surged outward, engulfing the creature, pulling at the shadows and dragging them back into the abyss. The walls shook, the ground trembled as the connection vibrated between them, but then, as the shadows began their retreat, a piercing shriek erupted from the creature. It echoed through the room, reverberating with ancient fury and sorrow. Its form flickered, a momentary glimpse of something human breaking through, before it vanished into the darkness, leaving only a void in its wake. "It's gone," the young man whispered, his eyes wide. But the victory felt hollow, a sliver of unease remaining. Breathless, Anna let the pendant drop against her chest. It felt heavier now, darker. Glancing down, the ancient symbol glowed ominously once more, pulsing with an insistent heartbeat. What did it mean? She breathed, heart pounding. Suddenly, the ground began to tremble again, and an unsettling whisper filled the air, this is just the beginning. Anna turned to the young man, fear etched across his face. What's coming now? She murmured, clutching the pendant tighter as shadows coalesced at the edges of their reality. The ground shook violently beneath them, and Anna braced herself as a chasm opened up, dark and infinite. Could she face whatever was to come? This time, there would be no backing down. Anna's breath came in heavy gasps as the chasm yawned before her, a bottomless pit of uncertainty. Shadows swirled ominously, flickering at the edges of her vision, whispering words of despair and warning. The pendant pulsed against her chest, a comforting yet haunting presence that drummed a rhythm of urgency in her heart. Anna, we can't let this happen. The young man warned, his voice trembling with fear. We need to find a way to close it. But Anna's mind raced, frantically searching for answers. A wave of memories washed over her grandmother's stories of courage and sacrifice, the legacy of love interwoven with light. We have to go toward it, she stated, her voice steadier than she felt. What? Are you crazy? He exclaimed. That's a pit of darkness. It's a way out. I feel it. With determination hardening her resolve, Anna stepped closer, straining to see what lay beyond. Was it madness or bravery that propelled her? Perhaps both. As she took a cautious step forward, the shadows recoiled, snapping like whips, hungry for despair. You know what happens, Anna, the void whispered, you will become one with us. No. She shouted back, defiance fueling her courage. I am not afraid of you. I embrace my past, and I will not back down. Light erupted from the pendant, illuminating the darkness like sunrays piercing through storm clouds. Each heartbeat resonated with power. Anna focused, channeling her strength, willing the darkness to yield, but the chasm wavered, responding to her conviction. The ground trembled beneath her feet, the very essence of the house vibrating as if it were alive, reacting to both her fear and her light. Anna! The young man cried, ready to step forward, but shadows surged forth, twisting, threatening to pull him into the abyss. Those faces lost loved ones flashed in and out, their expressions a cacophony of longing and despair. No! She cried out, reaching toward the young man. Don't lose yourself. But the darkness enveloped him, desperation pressing on his shoulders. Help me to fight it. Strength in numbers. Taking a deep breath, Anna lunged forward, holding the pendant high, its glow intensifying. Together, we can break its hold. As her fingers grazed his, a rush of warmth spread between them, anchoring them in the moment. The shadows recoiled. Hold on to each other. She urged, squeezing his hand tightly. The pair huddled close, joined in their defiance as Anna summoned from deep within her that bond of love, that spirit of hope her grandmother spoke of, to weave through the raw darkness threatening to consume them. This is our legacy. She shouted into the gaping maw of despair, shoving the pendant forward as a shield. We are not alone. The pendant sang, its light exploding outward in a blinding flash, piercing through the darkness like a spear. The shadows screamed, retreating, swirling like leaves in a tempest. The chasm began to shudder, pulling at the very fabric of despair that had grown between them, unraveling its grip. Suddenly, everything shifted. The tension broke like glass, the shadows spiraled back into their corners, and the sudden silence resonated, palpable and electric. Before them lay not the chasm of darkness, but now an opening, a door that glimmered with potential, a way out from their haunted pasts towards something brighter. But just as she felt victory blooming, a final shadow, dark and indistinct, slithered from the corner, a whispering tendril of the void. You cannot win, Anna, it hissed, a flicker of desperation lacing its voice. You will carry the darkness within you forever. Not if I can help it. Anna retorted, a sudden surge of energy igniting as she stepped forward toward the door, pulling the young man with her. We are not bound by despair. Our choices define us. With one last flood of light, the shadows recoiled, shrieking as their hold broke. The door opened wide, revealing a shimmering landscape filled with lush fields where the sun blazed in a peaceful sky. "Now!" Anna shouted, pulling him forward. Together, they stepped through, leaving behind the dark legacy of the mansion, the echoes of loss fading together into the horizon. As they crossed the threshold, light washed over them, filling them with a sense of peace and every hope they had been searching for. And intertwined with that light, Anna felt the essence of something forgotten, a legacy renewed, embers of hope ignited. The mansion stood silent behind them, its shadows retreating, contained, a warning of what once was. Epilogue. Anna looked to the young man beside her, both of them embracing the warm glow of newfound possibility. They didn't just break a cycle, they forged a new path, one of light, reclamation, and freedom. "We did it," he whispered in awe. "Yes," Anna said, smiling, the pendant glowing gently at her side, a reminder of their strength. "Together, we usher in a new dawn. The past may haunt, but together they could rewrite their legacy and they would never stand alone again." Now that you've experienced this incredible conclusion, here's what you need to do. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this crazy ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let's keep this community growing.